right, you're back here on Mining Stock Daily this Thursday. We are going to continue the day with a corporate update from Kenorland Minerals and CEO Mr. Zach Flood. Kenorland continues to trade on the Venture Exchange with KLD and on the OTCQX with KLDCF. Zach, there's a number of news items here you and I need to cover. I'm going to leave it up to you. Where do you want to start? You want to talk about having $7 million more in the bank account, or you want to talk about some gold exploration, or what other type of metals you got in your back pocket there?
Well, yeah, those are the big ones, I guess. In the last couple of months, was the sale of another equity position that we had for $7 million in proceeds. So that topped up the treasury, and we're sitting on around $23 million now in working capital. So the company is really well financed. And then we put out the remaining results on the Frotet Project up in Quebec, which is a joint venture with Sumitomo. We tagged a bunch of new veins in the deep drilling, so new discoveries, growing that system, which we're really excited about as well. And then we just kicked off a huge surface program in Ontario on a 100% owned project that we're sole funding, and that's called South Uchi.
Okay, well, let's talk.
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead. Sorry,
we'll get into it. No, it's fine.
I do want to let's talk about that flagship Frotet project. I mean, if I may say, flagship project. That highlight intercept was almost 12 grams per ton gold over 4.5 meters at the R11 deep vein discovery here. So obviously, we and I have talked about finding more of these mineralized vein structures there on the project. So give us kind of a sense what these latest drill results have shown you. I mean, how this seems like it's really opening up here.
Yeah, so there's a series. Renault is a series of stacked high-grade gold veins, gold-bearing veins within a large intrusive complex that's a couple kilometers by a couple kilometers wide. And so basically, the shear zone has cracked this big intrusion and just formed a series of veins that are kind of subparallel and repeat down kind of plunge into the intrusive complex. So you and I have talked about this as the project's evolved, and initially we found a few other veins as we drilled a bit deeper through the R1 structure, and then the next year we drilled a bit deeper and found some more veins, and then it was quite obvious that this is a pattern and it's repeating itself, and there's potential for even deeper veins. So this winter program, we drilled the deepest holes to date on the project by far. Some of these holes were 1,400 meters in total length and over 1,000 meters depth vertically. And sure enough, we hit even more high grade gold veins all the way down at those depths over 1,000 meters. And the last, like you mentioned there in the press release, was 4.45 meters at 12 grams per ton on what we're calling the R11 vein sets. And these aren't just single veins, there's a few veins within them, but that's incredible. I mean, we just, drilled a really deep hole into an area that we had no previous drilling, and we had a very economic looking intercept. So, and not only that, but we stepped out another 500 meters to the west of that and tagged the veins again. So we know that these, typically in the Renault system, the veins are pretty planar. Obviously there's some anastomosing along them, but it's not like you're in this big, complex folded system. It's really just these planar shear veins, and they're pretty continuous. And that's what we saw even down in the deep vein discoveries is continuity over at least 500 meters, and these are open up dip, down dip, and along strike. So room to grow is the is kind of the takeaway.
Yeah. So let me add, I think it's important to provide context to that highlight drill intercept. I mean, that was within almost 42 meters of 2.5 grams per ton. So, a pretty wide interval there of mineralization here, Zach. And you mentioned drilling deeper here. I mean, are you awaiting assays below R11 as well?
This hole did continue beyond that intercept, probably another 100 or 200 meters or so. And we did hit other structures down there, which were, weakly mineralized in some sense. But the thing I think people need to understand is really we're just looking for the structure. And if there's a structure with gold on it, there's a good chance that it could improve along strike or down dip or whatnot. You're just like, first you drill to find the structure. And then you kind of step out and try to find the sweet spots along it. Occasionally you'll just hit, a really nice area in the vein like we did on R11. But down below it, there were additional structures too, where we could see a bit of shearing. We could see some fluids coming in, some quartz vein formation, a little bit of gold. But sometimes in those circumstances, you'll step out a couple hundred meters and you'll have a 50 gram meter hit or 100 gram meter hit. So I would say that there's a probably good probability. There's a high probability that there's other structures deeper down, but 1,400 meter deep holes are expensive, and I think even Sumitomo, I don't want to speak for them, but they're probably looking at wanting to kind of tighten up the drilling at higher levels before really shooting even further down. I think we see enough here to be comfortable. It's a big system.
I was going to say, I think you got a lot to work with already without even to spend a ton of money to go even deeper. So let's talk about what you work with going forward here at Renault. You've concluded this program, so let's talk about what you do in the fall. What are the plans for Renault this fall?
So we're going to be drilling again, probably similar size program, 10,000 meters or so. We're also going to be doing a lot of surface work out to the immediately to the east of the Renault Gold system. So we're talking within 1 kilometer or 2 kilometers. There's some satellite targets that we identified from really early geochem surveys, and they were never followed up on. So we're going to do some high density till sampling out there, for maybe some additional geophysics, and then those will be ready for drill testing probably next winter. But then the drill program this fall, because we don't have access to the lake because it's not frozen anymore, we'll be drilling along the R2 and R3, and then some other step outs on the eastern side of the system as well. So more so kind of infill type of drilling. Still some big step outs on the deep. We're actually going to be drilling also some large step outs on those new vein discoveries as well. We definitely want to follow up on those. Yeah, but that's not going to be the main focus.
Do you have any other assays pending from this previous campaign before we get into the fall work?
No, that last release was the remaining assays. Yeah.
Well, it was a good one to end on, I must say. All right. So a lot more work to happening there in Quebec. Let's head over to Ontario and talk about your South Uchi project, because you've commenced exploration there, and maybe quickly revisit what South Uchi is and what type of mineralization you're exploring for.
Yeah, South Uchi is a large swath of greenstone belt in the Birch Uchi, in the Uchi domain, which is kind of encompasses the Red Lake belt, the Birch Uchi greenstone belt, and then out to the east there's the Pickle Lake greenstone belt. And the South Uchi project itself is staked all along the Confederation Lake assemblage, which is the same volcanic assemblage that Dixie Lake is hosted in. So that's where Great Bear found, an incredible gold deposit, and it kind of changed a lot of people's thinking on the potential in that particular volcanic assemblage. And so Kenorland, a few years ago, we saw that there was a big area of open belt, very underexplored. There's been, no modern exploration or no systematic exploration down there either. And so we staked that. Barrick approached us soon after. They were interested in the gold potential there. They decided they were going to operate that program. And so they did so for 2 years. They spent around $4 million. They collected a huge amount of glacial till samples and analyzed that for geochemistry. And, they just didn't see what they wanted to see, I guess. And they ended up terminating the agreement, and we got the project back 100% with a huge data set, this big geochem data set. So as we started digging through the data set, we see not only a gold target, that we want to follow up on, but there's a nickel copper target as well. And there's, when we pegged that ground, it was pre-lithium, mania. And we happened to stake all along the southern margin of the Allison Lake Pluton, which is a well-known kind of fertile paraluminous granite that has a lot of lithium occurrences along it. Plus there's the Macomb lithium deposit that Green Technology Metals has, which is a couple hundred meters off of our claims to the east side. So there's potential for lithium. There's this nickel copper, which we think is a magmatic sulfide target. And then there's a orogenic gold target as well, all in kind of different areas on the property. And so we are, that's kind of the big reason why we're going at this ourselves on a 100% basis, is we see the potential to make new discoveries, not only in one commodity, but potentially a few different commodities and different mineral system types. So yeah, it's really exciting.
How long is this program supposed to last? I mean, you are kind of coming up here into the fall here. How much time you got on the ground?
Well, I think we have about 15 people out there right now. So
oh wow,
we're gonna crush out all the sampling probably within 2 or 3 weeks, and that includes the collection of about 3,300 till samples for like soil samples, till substrate, but that's for fine fraction analysis, so just basic geochem. And then we're collecting another 700 till samples for heavy mineral concentrate. So that's like the large 10 kilogram samples that you take a concentrate of, and then we're looking for spodumene grains in those samples. And that will give us indications if there's lithium, cesium type pegmatites out there. And yeah, we'll see. This is all really kind of tight space sampling. The infill till samplings down to about 50 meters by 100 meter spacing. So that's getting really granular over these target areas. And so if we start to see the geochem really come together and, a target start to form there, then we'll take it to the next stage, which would be detailed geophysics, and then, potentially diamond drilling next year. But, one step at a time.
Can you do some geophysics in the winter up there?
Yeah, we could fly EM and magnetics, and that's typically what we would probably do over these targets, is just get higher resolution geophysics there.
All right. Early days there for South Uchi, but I mean, it looks really interesting. I mean, we've seen a number of these projects up there. Obviously Ontario, Quebec, that originally we thought to be more gold focused, but there's a lot more to these areas than just the precious metals, and I think South Uchi could be a very interesting story to follow here. Zach, real quick, let's talk about this $7 million here. Can you share us with what the securities you did sell to bring in the cash total to $23 million, which not a whole lot of exploration companies can say right now?
Yeah, that was it was a big win for us. We had helped incubate a company called Lift Power, which one of our co-founders, Francis McDonald, is running now. And, there was interest in buying a big block, and Kenorland was obviously sitting on a large gain from that. And, I think it was the right time to exit that. And, our role is not necessarily to speculate in markets. It's to kind of create value for our shareholders along the way. So I think we're sitting on a lot of value there, and we're happy to have completed that transaction, and yeah.
Does Kenorland hold any more securities of Lyft, or is it all done?
No, we've exited that position completely now, and we do hold another $5 million in marketable securities in some other companies, but we're typically along for the ride until the company is well on its way, and I'd say Lyft has been a huge success, and they've got probably a lot more upside as well, but it's not for us to really speculate on. Again, I think a number of our shareholders were happy to see us just kind of crystallize that, and yeah, but certainly, they're doing incredible work up in the Yellowknife district there. There's a number of really exciting pegmatites, and I'm sure Francis is going to take that a lot further. Yeah,
we had a good conversation with him here on MSD a couple weeks ago, so that was a pretty informative for me, actually, to hear how he described that. But all right, Zach, I appreciate your time. We'll see you again in another couple weeks, and be safe out there and safe travels up until your time in Colorado.
Thank you, sir. Okay, take care.